Namaste everyone. We are here again, and the topic for this webinar is what are we seeking in the name of spirituality? Our brain tends to be very mechanical, habits die hard, and with all the confusion that is there in human life, vast majority of us, even when we imagine we have now become spiritual, are actually no different from others or no different from how we were before. The tendency to seek pleasure, sense pleasure and other forms of passing pleasures, the tendency to seek power, position, the tendency to dominate, the tendency to have our way, whether it is right or wrong, all these don't so easily go. Therefore, the expression in English language goes, when there is no real change, they say this apparent change, no real change, outwardly, superficially some change, they call it, it is Tweedle-dum to tweedle-dee. Tweedle-dum to tweedle-dee means there is really no change. One may imagine that one has changed, but one is pretty much the same. All this is because of a very, very fundamental confusion. Therefore, we call it a generic illusion. Generic illusion means an illusion of such nature that there are varieties of expressions of it. 200 people may have 200 kinds of illusions, but all of them on one notch above, all of them belong to the same kind. So in the synopsis that we sent, we have written about a generic illusion of wanting to become. The mind, the conditioned mind, the mind which is working more out of memories than out of right perception at the present moment, conceives a picture. If somebody is eating some ice cream and her face looks very bright, she seems to be enjoying, I then imagine how wonderful it must be to eat ice cream. And then I conceive a picture of myself eating ice cream. I conceive a picture of myself going by an expensive car. I imagine myself being a professor at Harvard or Cambridge, Oxford or Sorbonne, somewhere. One imagines, and the power of imagination should not be underestimated. Imagination can get so powerful that one becomes insensitive, one becomes blind to one's real needs, and one goes after what one has imagined. This is called fancying. This is called moving away from facts. To use another idiom of the English language, this is chasing the wild goose. So one goes for a hunting and there is supposed to be, I have never done hunting, but I know these idioms. There is supposed to be some wild variety of a goose. Then one says, oh, I'll catch that goose. So one goes after that. Days with the arrow, nowadays probably with a gun or some pistol, I don't know. So the wild goose is not easy to catch. You think, oh, I got it, but then it escapes. And whole day you are running after that. Finally, you don't catch the wild goose, you become exhausted. Worldly life is like that, chasing the wild goose. And once more, the generic expression for this state of affairs is the trapping. The trapping, you get trapped, right? The trapping of wanting to become. You may ask me, wanting to become what? The moment you add something, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a lawyer, I want to become a rich man, I want to become famous. The moment you add something, it becomes specific. Specific issues have their own place, but whether you want to become a doctor or lawyer, famous or rich, no matter what you want to become, the urge, the desire to become something is a mental movement taking you away from reality. In spirituality, as we get deeper, examine every issue in its fine detail, of course, without any compromise, we say, even to desire liberation. I want to become mukta. I want to become free is also another trapping that can block the real state. True spirituality, therefore, defies description, defies words. You may say that is too tall an order. Namaste to true spirituality. No one can reach that. I will settle for second-rate spirituality. I'm happy with it. That is a contradiction in terms, or you cannot be happy unless you arrive at what I am calling true spirituality. Saying, I will settle for second notch or second grade, second degree spirituality, what you are talking is too abstract, etc., is of no use. It's an escape. See, sometimes we speakers, or some writers, let us say, may throw light on this matter in such ways that it may sound very intellectual. It may sound abstract. It sounds so hard that you may say, as the humorous expression goes, Namaste, Namaste, hum nahi samajhte. There are people who say goodbye to all this jnana yoga, I will go for bhakti. Now they conceive becoming Surdas, becoming Tulsidas. They conceive becoming like Mirabai, like Akka Mahadevi, some great saint. The moment you take a picture and try to fit into that, whether you like it or not, your love of God gets a beating. Meera or Surdas, Tulsidas or Kabir, all those great saints were not imitating somebody. When they loved God in some indescribable manner, in some manner where nobody could understand them, they were loving God for no reason. They were not loving God for becoming something. They were not loving God out of some image consciousness. that the whole town should think of them as wonderful devotees. Great Das, I am the best Bhakta, I am the best Viragi. This is how people should think. Suppose one has that kind of thought. We are not saying have that or don't have that, but we are throwing light on the matter. The moment there is that thought, I am A, I want to become B. The problem is both A and B are concepts. If there is direct perception of what we are, in the intense direct perception, there is no concept. There is only seeing, and there is no ego or I thought left at all. Therefore, going by the shloka that we applied in the synopsis or in the descriptive paragraph also, we had given a shloka from Upadesa Sāra. Maharshi Ramana raises this question, Kim svarupamiti ātma-darshane. This is the question, ātma-darshane. Upon reaching the pinnacle of spirituality, upon arriving at true spirituality, which he calls ātma-darshana, upon seeing the Atma, upon realizing one's true self, Kim svarupam, of what nature is this realization? Of what nature is this understanding? Kim svarupam is the question. Iti, upon being asked in this manner, the answer is given in the second half of that 28th shloka of Upadesa Sāra. The first half goes, Kim svarupamiti ātma-darshane avyaya-abhava-āpurna sukham. Just one word is enough for the theme of this webinar to be elaborated. Avyaya. Please see, I am A, I want to become B, is seeking a change. And Maharshi Ramana says, when there is intense self-inquiry, one comes upon a state of consciousness where change is not possible. One doesn't go from A to B. In fact, one doesn't imagine oneself to be A. I am A, I want to become B. So both are concepts. If one is hungry, one knows one is hungry, one takes food. But there is no concept of, oh, I should not be hungry. What is wrong with me? You see, it is one thing to feel hungry or thirsty, but quite another to imagine a psychological conclusion. I should not be like this, I should be like this, I should have been like this, and so on. You meet a scholar and you realize she knows 10 times more than you do, then your heart sinks. I wasted my life. Look at her, she is 5 years younger to me, but she knows so much more. I must become like her. Now there are two ideas here. One is how worthwhile or how worthy, how enviable she is, which may not be true. She may have more problems than you have, but you imagine that she is so blessed, so fortunate. So I envy her. So one concept about her worth, and on the other hand, how I wasted my life. I am nowhere. My scholarship is so less as compared with hers. Please see how comparison, competition, wanting to be like him, wanting to be like her, if not beat him, beat her, overtake him, pass her, etc., how this comparison is the fertile ground for the ego to strike roots and survive, get strengthened day by day. Maharshi uses the word avyaya, a state of consciousness where you are aware of changes in the body, you are aware of many changes that anyhow take place. Whether you want or not, you will get old. Whether you want or not, certain positions come to you, certain positions leave you also. The society will make you this, make you that. Or suppose you are a father, as years pass, without your doing anything, you become grandfather, because you get the phone call, your son calls from somewhere, Papa, I am a father now. What does it mean? If your son calls and says he has become a father today, you became a grandfather. That becoming is different. That becoming, you are a father, now you became a grandfather. See, that is not psychological process inside you. We carefully worded it earlier. The phenomenon of wanting to become. I want to become a grandfather. I am lagging behind. All my friends have become grandfathers. I am not yet a grandfather. So there is a rejection of oneself and desiring another picture of oneself, so on and so forth. In the Mahabharata we hear Gandhari was so impatient. She did not want Kunti to become a mother before her, and she was pregnant, Kunti was pregnant, and Gandhari wanted her kids to come out quickly. I want to be a mother, I want to. Of course, there are political aspects to it, because in those days, a child that is born one day before has a greater claim to the throne. The older boy, the older girl, or the older child, right? So I should become mother quickly. And the story goes that she forces the embryo to come out, but it's not yet ready. It's not a full-grown baby. And then that is put into 100 test tubes, 100 pots, and then slowly all of them are grown to proper babies. So the 100 children of Gandhari, the Kauravas, there is some such story behind it. So to become a grandfather, to become a mother, to become a guru, to become the chairman, to become the CEO, to become this or that, when there is a psychological movement, that is what we are talking about. If your son calls you and you say, oh really, how nice, hope the mother and child are all right. Internally in your bosom, you did not feel incomplete when you were not grandfather, and when the news comes you have now become a grandfather, you don't imagine, now I am complete, now I am full, now I am Purna. Until now I was Apurna. There is no such thinking in you, imagine. Then you are free from becoming avyaya. So one is aware of changes taking place, but psychologically in one's bosom there is no urge to become this or become that. And therefore the next word goes abhava. Bhava means artificial, something that is made up. Abhava is most natural. Avyaya-abhava-āpurna, truly complete in all sense. Chit, one is pure awareness. There is a personality, however, one is anchored in being the light that sees, the awareness. Avyaya-abhava. Another version makes it abhava. Let's not go to that meaning. Avyaya-abhava-āpurna, chit and sukham. This sukham is of the nature of tremendous unburdening. One is unburdened. All the anxiety is gone. No anxiety. The body may have some terrible ailment. The mind might have lost many good, desirable things like memory and so on. At one time you were able to remember the whole Gita. Now you do not remember even the 18 shlokas of Sthita Prajna Lakshana, let us say. If you have risen in consciousness, you are aware that you have less memory than before, less physical agility than before, less name and fame than before, and many other things. Some have become less, some have become more. Those are okay. But being aware of them, there is no regret. There is no regret. There is no looking down at oneself. You don't look down at yourself. That is sukham. Avyaya-abhava-āpurna sukham kim svarupam ātma-darshane. Avyaya-abhava-āpurna sukham. Take just the word avyaya. Contemplate on it. When you contemplate upon it, the reward is you become more and more instantly aware of the urge to become, which is a burden you and I carry. We are carrying an unnecessary burden. Imagine in a play where there is a king and a queen and a minister and an army general and a number of servants, a comedian and all that. And you are, let us say, you are playing the role of the army general. Imagine, even as you play, you get again and again disturbed by the thought, why am I not the king in this play? Part of your mind says it is a play. The other guy also is not really the king. There is no real king here. This is a play. This is a natak. This is a story. Imagine the servants are not happy playing the role of servants. So in life, you and I get different roles. And if we are unhappy about any particular role and wish to play another role, one needs to examine. I'm carefully saying, don't label it. When you have a desire next time to become something, don't label it as wrong. It may not be wrong. It may not be right. It's not about right and wrong at all. When you have a desire to become something, what is important is to understand it as it is. Is it functional or psychological? Is it fact-based or is it a fancy? Is it a conditioning or is it rooted in truth? For in life, rooted in truth, all of us need to move on. We need to do many things. If we are not doing anything in the name of, after hearing that webinar, I gave up all my desire to become anybody, to practically all desires I gave up. Nowadays, I don't get up at all from my bed. Whole day I remain. But I have a very loving family. They feed me. This would be despicable. That is not spirituality. A day in and day out, all of us, depending on where we are, we set some goals. We do things. We even follow so-called deadlines, targets, and so on, once in a while. Therefore, Lord Krishna in the Gita says wonderfully, the unattached should work as enthusiastically as the people who are attached. In fact, he should inspire them. Saktaha karmani avidvamsaha yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvan tatha saktaha chikirshur lokasangraham. Just as sakta means attached. People attached run about with much anxiety. The unattached person also outwardly should run about. Not only should, would. He would run about. He is also working vigorously, going by his own standards, not imitating anybody, not trying to just be like somebody else, maintaining his originality. Whatever is good speed for him, he maintains it. Whatever is optimum speed, because the right speed for you is different from the right speed for somebody else. So be yourself, and in being yourself, being your natural self, yes, you are fast. You do things. You also seem to have goals and objectives and targets and whatnot. So, saktaha yata kurvanti asaktaha tatha kuryat, says Sri Krishna. So the word avyaya alone, upon proper contemplation, all it does is it helps us notice any unnatural urge, anything that is a psychological phenomenon. If it is not hungry, you will go have some food. That is biology. You have to see everybody going and taking food on their plates, and you start imagining, looks like that is the fashion, that is how gentlemen behave here. I also better take it and pick some. This is called psychology. And some other time when you are actually hungry, because nobody else is reaching out for food, you say maybe it is not right for me to eat food now, and you suppress. So at the wrong time you suppress, and at the wrong time you express, because of confusion in the mind. That is called psychological behavior. Avyaya-abhava. All right. Let's come back to what is it that we are seeking. Well, in a manner of saying, in spirituality, as we move away from popular spirituality to real spirituality, it is not about seeking anything, it is about ending of all seeking. It is about living in truth, in fact, living in objective awareness. In fact, mystics go one step further and say there is the ending of the seeker himself. There is no seeker. There is no seeker, there is no seeking. There is just moving on with life. Outwardly, nobody would know. Outwardly, they would find you pursuing some goals. But inside, there is a silence. Because the ego, the mysterious ego, has died. This is so, no matter what language you employ, of Jnana Marga or Bhakti Marga. In Sādhanā, 40 verses on reality, Sri Ramana Maharshi mainly covers Jnana Marga, the path of wisdom, path of knowledge, but there are a couple of verses which touch upon Bhakti Yoga or Bhakti Marga, the way of devotion. And one of the verses in a way touches our topic of this webinar. He says, Ātma-darshane param prapashyet ityagamokte sulabho na bhavaha ātmana drishyo yadika katheshe. Swayam tad diksha. The shloka means the Vedas say one should know oneself. Atam iksheta. And the Vedas or spiritual param prapash. One must agama is where agamoktehe sulabho na bhavaha. The true meaning of such statements that you must see God, you must realize the self, you must see God. The true meaning is not easy. And then the second half of the shloka says, first of all, Atma, one's own true self, is not visible. How can you ever see it? Because the true self can never be objectified. It is the ultimate subject. It is the unobjectifiable subject, the Atma. Ātma-darshane yadi. If our inner nature, our true nature is not visible, can never be seen, what to talk about God's nature? God, by and large, everybody looks at God as far superior to us. Our own true nature itself is not possible to see. God's true nature must be just simply impossible. No question about it. Therefore, why do the Vedas say, see God, you must see God? The fourth line gives the answer. Seeing God, that is Ishvara-darshana, in precise terms, is nothing but swayam tad anni bhavanam. You become food for God. Annam is food. Anna, food. Anni bhavanam. You become food for God. Let God eat you up. Swayam tad anni. Tad means for him. Tasmai. Tasmai anni bhavanam. Tad anni bhavanam. Swayam tad anni bhavanam tadiksha. Tadiksha again means tasya iksha. Tat can stand for tasmai here. Tat can stand for tasya there. Tadiksha. So to see God in the purest sense of the word is not seeing some form of God. All that is all right. It has its place. They are stepping stones. They are encouraging milestones in some sense on the spiritual path. But really, seeing God is to become food for him. So what is meant by becoming food for him? When you eat a roti or when you eat a morsel of boiled rice, cooked rice, the moment before the rice, the roti, the chapati is other than you. A moment later, the roti goes in, the chapati goes in, the boiled rice, cooked rice goes in. There is no rice other than yourself. Rice has disappeared into you. Likewise, in highest form of spirituality, seeking, the seeker behind seeking. I want to reach here. I want to become that. All that disappears. That doesn't mean that you become a piece of vegetable or a piece of furniture. Please be clear about this. We have said before also, outwardly, on the personality level, on the body and mind and level, you are working. Or at times, if you are sitting quietly, before also you are sitting quietly. It's not about either sitting quietly or running about. There's not much difference. But it is the inward anchoring. Where are you inwardly? Inside you, where do you find yourself? Inside, at this height of spirituality, you find there is nobody inside who wants to go anywhere. Being nobody, going nowhere. The lady who wrote that book, Being Nobody, Going Nowhere, in fact, went around the world with her discourses, with her classes on Buddhism. Avyaya-abhava was a Buddhist nun who wrote this interesting book titled Being Nobody, Going Nowhere. That is the ending of the seeker. That is the disappearance of the ego. That is the erasure of the ego. She went all around and she became famous. She was well known, Avyaya-abhava. So outwardly you may be doing a lot of things, but inwardly you know, God has eaten me up. I have become food for God. There is no one inside you, really, as an incomplete being. Swayam tadanni bhavanam tadiksha. Therefore, to sum up this webinar, in spirituality, all of us do seek. Some of us may seek even better health. We may seek some little powers. We may seek harmonious relationships. We may say, I go to this temple because I get peace of mind. That is what I seek. I go to this temple and my mind becomes calm. Then my relation with my family members and others is more harmonious. 100 things we may say. And all of them are okay on their level. But as we are talking of maturity, as there is a greater and greater maturity about the so-called spirituality, one sees, we can see that coming upon an inner silence where we don't want to become anybody, we don't need to become anything. We don't need to either become famous, etc., or become efficient, etc. There are some seekers who say, spiritual sadhaks, oh, I am not after money, I am not after power or position, fame or name. But you see, I believe in doing my duty and it pains me I am not doing my duty. I want more energy to perform my duty. Well, that regret is understandable. But if the same person is more mature, then he goes about discharging his duty better than ever before without carrying that burden of regrets, without whipping himself up, without beating himself up, without self-pity, without self-condemnation. One just sees. One is slow, then one speeds up. Or when one sees sometimes one is unnecessarily hurrying, one slows down. If you are hurrying, slow down. If you are slow, hurry up. But in either case, you don't have to make a generalization. Here onward, I am going to be faster. Here onward, I am going to be slower. What is that here onward? Take care of the present in utmost wisdom. Take care of the present in utmost maturity. The future will take care of itself. After all, when the future comes to shake hands with you, it already becomes Mr. Present. You never shake hands with future. For example, today is September 25. September 26 is tomorrow. But when you actually go to September 26, you don't say about it tomorrow. It is today. You always meet today. You never shook hands with yesterday. You never can shake hands. You can never meet tomorrow. The moment you meet tomorrow, it is already today. The moment you meet any instant of time, it is now only. Therefore, you are going from now to now to now to now, from now to now, and nothing else. And therefore, the self-judgment, I am bad, I am poor, I am not efficient, I am not famous, I am not rich, I am not. All these need to be examined carefully. And in that gentle observation, a lot of foolishness just settles down like dust settling down, and life becomes so light, so easy, so burden free. So let me pause here, and at this juncture itself I will request Vibhaji to make some announcements. Oh, let her make the announcement, then people can ask questions about these webinars on YouTube or something.
Hariyo, all the
webinars. Yeah. Yeah.
All the webinar, presentation and talks have been uploaded to YouTube under Fawai Forum. Thank you so much.
So the search word is Fawai Forum. If you put Fawai Forum, you get all the recordings of these webinars by different presenters. Fawai Forum, right? Some may be audio only, but you get the talk. So we will take some 3 or 4 questions for this session and conclude by India's 9:30, 12 in New Jersey. Let me see any text question here. No text question.
No questions seen.
Then let me see whether
Hands also.
anyone has raised a. There is no raised hand. Yeah. No one has raised any hand. Yes, no text also. So nobody seeks any answer for any question. There is neither seeking nor seeker. Oh, there is one question here.
Question box.
Yeah, what overpowers buddhi? What overpowers buddhi? In Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, it is said, Indriyani parani abhu, indriyebhyaha param manaha, manasastu para buddhihi, yo buddhehe paratastu saha. So what is above buddhi is answered, and that is no other than, in the traditional language, the Atma. I would prefer an expression, the deepest intelligence in you. There is an intelligence in you. Probably it will not be wrong to say this intelligence resides in the pure self. So the intelligence in the pure self overpowers buddhi, overtakes. Yo buddhehe paratastu saha. So buddhi or manaha, that is the power of thought. And thought, however powerful it may be, has serious limitations. Therefore, what over, I am taking the word over.
Hari Om. Yeah. Thank you everyone. Please sorry for the inconvenience. We'll meet on next Sunday now. Hari Om. Have a good day to USA listeners and good night to Indian listeners. Swamiji, do I send you the questions? You can reply them on your emails. Okay. 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 Thank you. Pranam.